these days, believe it or not, but I know how I feel. And that these days that I don't have some diseases or stuff, but in those early days as a monk I had scrub typhus, which was the same as symptoms as typhoid. And at that time it was wonderful to be able to sit there, let go, actually not sit there, lay there, let go, and get into a beautiful meditation. Even then the body could feel so beautiful and relaxed. So even now it's wonderful to be able to know how to sit here in a room which is really hot. What temperature are you putting it on? 21? What do you reckon? 21? 16? 20 and a half? It doesn't really matter. Whatever. It's nice to be able to sit here and just let the body be comfortable no matter what temperature and learn to be still. But I do remember many times in the early years of meditating having to deal with the problem of sloth and torpor, the low energy states. And I do remember many times I was sitting there with my head really bowed. Please, I can't really do this with a microphone in front of me, so I'm going to push the microphone apart. Have you ever noticed yourself drooping like that? You don't notice it because you've got your eyes closed and you think you're really getting into some deep meditation. You're not, you're sleeping. And when my head drooped like that, fighting it for so many weeks and months and getting nowhere, the one day you did decide to relax to the max. If that's what the body needs to do, let it do it. And those beautiful times when the head was drooping and then the mindfulness started to increase, you started to get more aware, and the body started to straighten up by itself. I didn't give it any instructions, I didn't order it, it just started straightening up. Have you experienced that? If you have, well done, because it shows you the trick. You don't need to tell the body what to do. When it's the right time for the body to straighten up, it will straighten up by itself. It will just twist around to be the right position all by itself. And when those sorts of experiences happen, you realize that all you need to do is to give the body that freedom to be able to find its own beautiful posture. And then once that beautiful posture has been found, because you haven't been thinking, giving orders, controlling, then you can start to relax to the max your own mind. Would it be nice to have a relaxed mind? How do you experience that? And I give all these kind of descriptions, maybe too much descriptions. Usually you find because you have nothing to do, no problems to fix, you have no goals to reach, the desires, ill wills of trying to get rid of things disappear. You're just there, just being in this moment, relaxing with this body. Body disappears, and now the mind relaxes. There's no orders to give. There's no information to put on the computer of your brain. You leave it all alone, and it kind of gets quiet inside. And that quietness is a beautiful experience of peace. If the body was tired, it fixes itself up. If it needs anything, you can sit up for 45 minutes without any problems. So you just let it be. You let it be. You let go. You give up. You renounce doing things. You abandon choosing things. The mind is still. And that's a very deep teaching, but anyone can do that because it's simple. When you let things be and just relax, There's no work to be done. So eventually, after a few minutes, the brain kind of loves this. And all that energy, which is usually wasted by trying to do something, or trying to figure something out, trying to make something happen, trying to avoid unpleasant things, trying to solve problems, all of that doing kind of vanishes. And when it does, then the body is straightened up, the mind becomes still, and the mind becomes energized. And the energy in the mind, which is coming from stillness, is the very, very, very best. Any of you who've ever studied spirituality, especially the meditation spirituality, the tradition which I follow, notice that these things happen, beautiful things happen, when you really become still, starting off with making your mind peaceful. And after a while there's no need to think, you know, but not in the language of thoughts. You feel, you intuit the world. And it's far more accurate, far more beautiful. And you find you start to see beauty in places you've never seen before. That's why sometimes when I start the meditation here on a Saturday afternoon, I don't want to close my eyes. The view outside is just so gorgeous. All the trees and the grasses in the afternoon sunshine. It's very delightful, the view here. But I've been watching this view for over 40 years. It still looks delightful. When the mind is relaxed and peaceful, it sees more, it feels more, it even hears more clearly the sound of the wind. Everything becomes more gorgeous. And that shows you what this meditation does. You relax to the max, and all these wonderful rewards just come without you asking for them. It's just like any wisdom, any insights, any deep insights, they come without you chasing them. And good to notice this and to understand this, because what it means is that you don't have to do anything. If it depended upon you doing things, and your knowledge, and your strength, and your work ethic, then I would never be able to meditate. But if you know how to relax and be peaceful and be still, it's easy. And you get deeper meditations, deeper understandings, more experiential knowledge than you've ever had before. This is how the meditation works. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter just where you come from, how your language skills are. You're just simple. I always like telling the story of this monk. Someone reminded me of the story I've told many times a few days ago. There was a monk in Thailand. Before he even became a monk, he went to school. He failed grade 1 at school. I don't know how that's possible, but they said, yes, he failed it. Maybe his stick men were not artistic enough. And then he went to grade 1 the second year, failed again, 3 years in grade 1, never passed. And after 3 years of just trying to finish grade 1, he had to be sent out of the school. It was hopeless. This was an old type school in Thailand. And what do you do with someone who can't even pass grade 1? You know what they do with them in Thailand at those days? They send them to the monastery and ordain them as a novice monk. Not all novice monks started off like that. And then, after a couple of years, the abbot of the monastery was so kind and patient, but even he couldn't teach him how to do any chanting. He couldn't learn much. And so after 2 years as a novice monk. Now what can we do with him? Because he couldn't even chant Namo Tassa. He managed to learn Namo, but then started learning Tassa, and then forgot the Namo. So what do you do with someone like that? The answer is you send them to forest monastery. That's where we come from. Is that correct? Yeah. You send them there, and they just gave him a very simple instruction in meditation. Just watch your breath. And that's what he did. He didn't miss one breath. He just kept watching his breath. And he became a well-known enlightened monk in Thailand. He could then do the chanting. You asked him how he could do the chanting. It was because that he remembered a previous life when his brain could learn the chanting. And he connected with, I don't know if I'm astounding you on this or you don't believe me, but this was his explanation. He could learn the chanting he could do the chanting by remembering the last lifetime when he learnt it. And he just connected with that so he could chant in this life. But his mind was so simple, so peaceful. Could not pass grade 1 at school, but could meditate so deeply. So, if you have any of the people you teach meditation to in prisons who are having a difficult time, they had difficult times at school, yes, these will be the arahats in Sydney in the future. Tell them that. It gives them some encouragement. And it's many different ways of learning. And this was one of the best ways. Keep it simple and let them feel their way into these deep meditations. You're so peaceful, you're so still, and nothing is moving. You get really, really, really deep, very, very peaceful, and very blissed out and very wise. Okay, that's just an introduction for the beginning. It's now 18 minutes past 3, so it's the time when we start the guided meditation. So those of you who haven't got your eyes closed already, now's the time to close the eyes, get your posture reasonably comfortable, and I will give the instructions for the beginning of the meditation. After about 15-20 minutes, then I will be quiet and let everyone meditate by themselves and see how deeply you can go. The meditation time is usually about 40 minutes. So sitting here, please bring your attention to your body first of all. Just like asking it, inquiring, how are you? Just like you might see a close friend and ask them that question. And your body will be honest to you. And now go even deeper. This is where I start asking parts of my body, how are you? Usually I start with the toes and then work upwards. But today, just for interest, I'll do it slightly differently. Right now, what part of your body is just most irritating, Choose only one part and allow your mind to focus on it and care for it. It's like you may have a child in your family. If not a child, a cat or a dog, and they're sick, you want to make sure you can look after them, care for them. Whatever it is they need, you will supply that, so they will soon recover from the sickness. Can you feel a place in your body which needs some extra TLC? Personally, right now, I look and find just the front of my head. I do suffer from hay fever. Have not been sneezing that much, but I can still feel some pressure around my sinuses. So I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to try and dive into that and try and give it relaxation from inside. You may have a sore leg, an arm, or a tummy which is not at peace. If you can, focus on the most irritating part of your body. But be precise. Don't just say, my leg. What part? And just notice when you focus on it and you give it peace as a gift. You know what peace means. It's like you're giving it a gift coming from your kindness, which may help that part of your body relax. And you feel it. Normally, when you are kindful of a part of your body, that body drinks up that kindfulness and does appreciate it. It does relax more. And as it relaxes, the problem kind of lessens. My sinuses already are becoming more free. The air is going through them without being blocked off like they were 2 minutes ago. It gets comfortable to the point where it does get delightful. Just to know that you can do this without any medications, just by focusing and being with the most difficult part of your body, heals it. And then when that's not a problem anymore, I go to the second most irritating part of my body. I look around, and it is my stomach. I had a good meal this morning, but nevertheless, you can feel there must have been something there which I should not have eaten. I can feel a bit of tightness, nothing serious, but I can feel it. So I go inside of that. Just imagine my attention going right into the middle of it and being with it and wishing it well. And now there's a lot of difference between just wishing it well and trying to force it to be well. That's too much control, and that makes it feel worse. If when you're doing this it does become worse, that means you're trying to change it. You are trying, controlling, doing. And that always creates more tension. You want just to feel it and ease it. And eventually you know exactly how much effort not to put in. This makes everything tight again. So already my stomach is starting to feel fine. It's relaxing. It's becoming at ease. And as I'm doing this to the two most irritating parts of my body, I'd always try and find a third. Right now that's hard to find. But this is one way of relaxing the body. Once the first two are relaxed, then I find the third. I suppose that's the lower intestines. Feel them. Imagine you're getting inside of them and you're relaxing to the max. After a while, if that is your goal, to relax to the max, you soon find out how to do it. You know how to do it because you're observing this all the way. You are mindful. And I always found out that it's the kindness which I add to the mindfulness which works the best. It's essential. So when I'm aware of something, I never forget that wishing it well. Sometimes I look at my own body like I look at yours, wishing it well, out of compassion. I know what the compassion feels like. And it's easy to practice on my own body. And when I see how it works on my own body, how it relaxes and eases anything, it takes away all the tension, the tightness. I'm not pulling or pushing anymore. I'm allowing everything to be at ease, with no pressure on it at all. I don't want anything. I'm not trying to get rid of anything. Just being kind. And I apply that kindness to the irritating parts of my body. And they vanish. And now I look at my body. And it feels just as it usually feels on a Saturday afternoon when I teach like this. Just like it usually does after going through the sweeping of the body. This is a kind of little bit more efficient. Looking for the problems, easing them, and letting them vanish. Now my body feels really comfortable. And if you've been meditating as long and many times as I have, you know that this body is really ready to go, to disappear. So now I can look at my mind. The mind is where all these orders and control and stuff which disturbs the body come from. And the first thing I notice is how peaceful I am. The word peace is a usual word, nothing like nimittas and jhanas and all these deep words. Something which everyone should be able to understand. Peace. That's where there's no problems to be solved in the mind. There's nothing you need. You're contented. In this moment, this is good enough for me. all these ways of looking, of observing your mind, which means you can leave it alone. There's no problems to be solved. And you notice when you start doing this, all your past starts to vanish. That's where many of the problems find their origin, in the experiences you've had so far in your life, which have caused you stress, made you try and think up solutions which you can't find. Instead, you let the whole problem vanish. You don't have to solve it. You're just sitting there, free of responsibility. To me, that feels really cool. And you can almost touch the peace. If you want to find names for it, you can, but it's a waste of time. You come into this present moment naturally, only because all the past and future vanishes. It's not really relevant when you're going into deep meditation. And then the next beautiful thing which happens, in the silence, you find stillness. So often we get into the habit in life, when anything wonderful happens, we want to say something. It's just like we see a beautiful sunset, we want to take a photograph of it. You can't photograph beauty. You can't describe stillness. You just know it. When the mind is still, hardly anything is moving. Please stay there. Usually, you start to know what you're aware of. For me right now, it's my breath. The breathing comes to me. In these days of my meditation life, I never go looking for my breath. I become still, relaxed, and the awareness of the breath just appears in my mind. It literally does come to me. And it's a nice place to hang out, to rest. That's what I'm doing. Watching my breathing and allowing my mouth to talk these things to you. But also getting so quiet, I can't speak much more. I am going to be quiet till the end of the meditation. How do you feel? I will now ring the gong 3 times. Actually, I won't. I will just make the gong sound. Thank you for participating. I changed it a bit. Yeah, apparently the iPad is not working. First question from Wolfram. I'm in bed most of the time and short of breath. How to meditate and find peace despite emphysema and a tumour? How to cheer up and find peace? Short of breath makes life hard. Thank you, Ajahn. Sometimes, if that is a major problem in the body, you just go right into that emphysema. Don't make it a place in the body. Just imagine it's a thing which lives in your body and be right inside of it. First of all, you make friends with it. I'm not joking. You give it this kindness. I don't know why you have to be with me in the body, but you can stay as long as you like. When you make peace with it, you find the mind doesn't overreact. And if you're laying down, make sure you're comfortable. And after a while, you'll find that the emphysema just becomes a part of your life. Doesn't get worse, doesn't get better. It just stays like that. And it's not anything you need to really concern yourself about. You're surviving. Somehow or other, the breath is going in and the breath is going out. So let's let the body do the breathing. Your job is just to do the observing. Just make sure you don't interrupt the body. That's a beautiful way. After a while, you tend to be with things rather than wanting to get rid of them. And after that while, just the body relaxes with its situation. Doesn't even want to change it. When you no longer want to change your medical condition, that's when the emphysema has got the best chance to vanish, disappear. You don't need much oxygen, simply because you're not panicking, you're not fighting, you're not exerting sort of willpower which needs energy to support it. You're letting it go. And then you just watch. I think I said this a couple of times recently, the way that Ajahn Chah told me that he got through his malaria fever. The malaria fever for forest monks in places like Thailand was just common. Everyone experienced it. And it's one of those fevers, experiences, which can kind of get lesser and lesser and lesser, but you're always subject to it at any time. Once the body gets a bit weak, then the malaria fever will come up. I still remember Ajahn Chah telling me personally that one day, he was having an attack of malaria fever. He decided to try something different. He just sat there and he went into the middle of it, the center of the fever. And he said it was like, his simile for it was he was like sitting in a forest where all the trees were burning and getting hotter and hotter and hotter. But he was in the middle, in a place where the heat just couldn't reach him. He knew it was there. He said like the center of a storm where nothing is moving. And then he could feel the heat get hotter and hotter and hotter. But he just did not move. He didn't want anything. He wasn't trying to get rid of anything. He was at peace with it. It's part of nature. And then it exploded. And that's, he said, after that time, he never had malaria fever ever again. The next question. A struggle with a substance use disorder. Can meditation help with addiction? Thank you, Ajahn. Oh yes, of course it can. After a while, some of the reasons why one is addicted, sometimes it's almost as if, please excuse me, but you're not kind enough to yourself. So I know one thing. I was talking with this gentleman who had a strong addiction, and he was telling me that, once I said, well, you should get someone to take a video of you when you're really drunk out of your mind. He said to me afterwards, he said, no, that will not work. He's tried that. He said, that makes him even feel worse about himself. First of all, to give him that confidence that the addiction and him are two different things. So once you can separate that, he doesn't identify with having addiction, which is part of him, but he's experiencing an addiction. He's not it. Then after a while, he can let it go. Of course it can be hard to let go of at first, but then it soon starts to vanish. And when it does, he feels just so much more joy. And that's really important to notice that joy. The joy of being free. Having an addiction is like being in a prison. You're not free. But when you can learn with mindfulness and kindness how to relax the body and mind so much that the addiction doesn't come up. And after a while you can feel just how gorgeously pleasurable that is. Not needing to have all these substances to be happy, to be at peace. It's so amazingly beautiful. And after a short while, you don't even need to take those things anymore. You can refuse it just like you've never had it before. That's a beautiful way of dealing with addiction. And that's some of the stories which people have told me in the past. But please don't use force. It's the force which wears you out and keeps you feeling that you don't deserve to be free of the addiction. That's an important part with most people's addictions. It's almost like a self-punishment. So you want to feel good about yourself. You're doing well. Well done. There was this gentleman in Thailand many years ago, close to our monastery in Ubon. And he said during the rains retreat, the 3-month period, he made a vow, a promise. He would not take any alcohol during the rains retreat from sunrise to sunset. And he said for him it was tough. And he would have like a couple of bottles of alcohol ready in the evening and was watching the sun as it got lower and lower to the horizon. It was always much slower than he hoped to go down. Eventually the sun set and then he would drink. But when he said that first arranged retreat, he managed to keep his promise. All the monks in our monastery praised him. For him it was a very tough thing to do. The reason we praised him, because when you praise somebody, you give them energy. Energy, confidence that they can do things. Of course, we all knew it was not enough yet, but well done, how much you've done so far, to build up their sense of power, their strength, so they can eventually totally overcome those addictions. Okay, there's only those 2 questions there I was given. So any questions from the people here at the floor? If you want a question answered, put up your hand. That's really nice. Excellent. I don't know if you enjoyed that meditation, but I really did. So thank you for letting me do it. Was it good for you? Great, excellent. Okay. So let's bow 3 times, and we can have an early evening. Wow. Actually, no, because I'm sure there'll be a line in front.